This is the Education Business Podcast for consultants and business owners providing services in schools. I'm Claire Riley, and I'll be sharing how to start, grow and scale your education business. Are you thinking big enough? This podcast episode is as much for me as it is for you. It's what I've been thinking about over the last week. Now, I've been thinking about my 2024 goals and really challenging myself for what they should actually be. So I have got one locked in, which is really exciting. I'm going to be connecting with entrepreneurs of a certain level, and I've got myself a number that I'm going to work on towards meeting next year, just so that I can expand my network, because the more you grow in business, the more you understand how important that is. Sometimes it really is who you know, not what you know. So I thought it was a really good time to talk about just generally whether you are thinking big enough. So it might be for your 2024 goals, but equally it might just be in general. And I've been challenged recently on my container for wealth. So I have in my mind this container for wealth that I am working on. So what that means, it's actually from a book called Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. You can think of what you want your container for wealth to be and work on that. Obviously, it's not going to be full at the beginning, but you can work on that being your mindset, that is your container for wealth, and the universe abhors a vacuum. So expect that to be filled up. Obviously, you have to do stuff as well. It's not just about the mindset, but you get the idea. And my container for wealth has been this certain amount, and it's not a small amount, by the way, at all. It's a large amount. But I also have had this feeling for a while that there's this really audaciously large amount, not because I want that or need that, but because I understand how helpful that can be to others. And I was challenged when I spoke to somebody the other day, and I'll tell you the story in a minute, about why my container for wealth in my mind isn't that already. And I ended up imagining this big, I want to call it a gorge, but it didn't have, it wasn't through. It was like a gorge that was completely closed, and that gorge was empty. And my thoughts were that needs to be filled up so that it can just keep flowing out all of the time for others. Anyway, that was my little visualization, I suppose, how it came to fruition. But the reason why I was challenged on it was because I was talking to somebody just about Christmas, and I was connecting with them over being a parent. They had a child a bit younger than my children, and we were talking about that and about what they like and what TV programs they watch and things. And this person said to me, "Oh yeah, we've bought our child a toy advent calendar." Now, to be fair, they are pretty expensive at £25 roughly each, aren't they? And we never had that as children. And they said, "It's my birthday later on in the month, and so I've used the money that I'm getting for my birthday to buy this advent calendar." And that hit me. And you can tell that in my voice, that hit me. And I thought, gosh, that's a situation to be in. It's not a really bad situation, don't get me wrong, but that's not a situation I'm in. Not that I actually get anything for my birthday. Me and Ed do not buy each other things for our birthdays because we don't want anything then. When we want something, then we get it. And so we don't buy each other things for the sake of buying them for each other. But I said to Ed afterwards, why am I so bothered by this? It's an advent calendar and it's birthday money for an adult, and we don't, have birthday presents like that. And he said it's about the experience. You care about the experience, and he's right. We've done so much personal development, so much thinking about who we are and how we think and what we like, what we don't like, what we believe in. And for me, experience is something that I value so deeply. Things like planning amazing surprises, going on really special trips, spending time together in the school holidays. It's all interlinked to experience. Experience is so important to me, and it's one of my really deep values, what people experience. And it just pushed me, because I just thought, I want to change that experience. I want to change that experience. And Another thing that I really care about in terms of experience is plastic. I use plastic, of course I do. This is plastic. Parts of this microphone, parts of my laptop are plastic. I've got a selfie stick, I've got a phone, I've got all of the things. We can't avoid it. But there's so much plastic in the oceans, and the experience from all levels bothers me. So if you live somewhere where the plastic is washing up on the beach, that's your experience being affected. If you eat fish and there's plastic in it, it's your experience being affected. If you're an animal and you live in that ocean, that's your experience being affected. And it bothers me. It really bothers me. And so I was just challenged to think bigger and think, hang on a minute, Claire, why have you got this little comfortable, well, not even that comfortable, but more comfortable container for wealth in your mind when you know in the future you want it to be bigger? So you should be thinking about that now. And I found it difficult because I'm not really driven by personal wealth. I've tried that. I've followed the things that people have said. I'm just not that driven to buy a car or buy something big. I'm not saying I don't want those things. We all want those things, but I'm not driven by it. But what I am driven by is fixing a problem. Even if it's someone else's problem, in fact, I'm more likely to be driven by that, to fix somebody's problem. And so I've been challenged into thinking bigger, and I want to challenge you to do the same because it reminded me of when I did really think much bigger at Classroom Secrets. Maybe when I was in a similar position to you, the company had been flailing for a little bit, then we'd pulled it round, and then we could have thought small. Actually, we thought really, really big. In the beginning, you already know I didn't want a big team. I didn't want a big company. I wanted to grow this company unnoticed, in secret, where nobody knew who I was, but still have sales, which is just ridiculous. But I think most of us think that we can do that because we just want to hide. And then I had to come round to this point where we just were audacious and we said, do you know what? We're going to do this massive thing. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But we'll be closer than we were if we didn't think of the bigger thing. And then I think we went through a period of time where we didn't think that big, where we thought too small, but we're thinking big again. We're thinking big again at Classroom Secrets, and we're thinking big again at Education Business Club. So what are you thinking? What are your goals for 2024? Are they big? Are they outrageous? Are they comfortable? If your goal in 2024 is to sell to 100 schools, what would it mean to sell to 1,000 schools? How could you make 1,000 schools happen? What tweaks would you need to make? If you do training, maybe you'd have to do the training online to be able to sell to 1,000 schools. But is that worth it? Is it possible? In the time scale of a year, can you add that bit in and get more sales? Can you grow your company more? Can you serve more schools, teachers, parents, tutors, children? How can you think bigger? If you think listening to this has been thought-provoking and you're going to go away and you are going to relook at those goals you're thinking about, or when you do come to look at your goals, you're going to ask yourself the question, how can I make this bigger? Then this is the kind of thing that is in Education Business Club. Hopefully thought-provoking, real experiences, real events in the education business world, things that have really happened, and content as well in direct response to your unique challenges now, if you reach out to me. So if you want somebody who's going to remind you of these topics, of things you should be thinking about, then I can be that person for you in Education Business Club. In each content library, there's so many mini lessons that are just to the point on specific issues for education businesses, and they're added to every single month. And it is a direct response to what you're telling me. So for example, our first event is in January. It's the 11th of January. It's for everyone who is in Tier 3 and Tier 4. And what my current members are telling me is that they're struggling understanding finance, and they're struggling with the technology and making sure that it's really working well for them in their businesses. So they're the two things that we're going to be looking at so far. I'm still in the middle of planning it, but we're going to have something on finance and we're going to have something on technology because that's what they need and that's what will help them move their businesses forward, and they're struggling with that right now. and we want to get them to a place where they're not struggling and they feel confident. So maybe you've been on the fence about Education Business Club. Maybe you're only going to be in tier 1, but it doesn't matter, because wherever you are in your business journey, as long as you pick the right tier, you're going to get the content that's right for you. And what's been really nice about talking to people about the club, because people have reached out to me asking me which would be the right tier for them, is the confirmation that I've got the tiers correct. When I talk to people about where they are in their journey and they tell me which tier they think they're at, and then they tell me some of the struggles, it works. It actually does work. I shouldn't sound so surprised, but when you launch something, you'll know yourself. You always wonder whether it's your opinion or whether it's real. And it just proves to me all of the experience that I've got, that I've pulled together over the last 17, 18 years of being in business. It's so useful. It's so useful, and it's going to help you grow your education business, but also with your confidence, feeling like you can do it and that you're not alone. And I think that's a really, really important part of it, because there's me, there's you, and there's other people in the same boat, and we're all working on it together. So if you do want to join Education Business Club, we would love to have you. You can join tiers 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 is going to be in the new year. And you go to educationbusinessclub.co.uk/join. So I'm really looking forward to seeing you in Education Business Club. Go away this week, have a think about your 2024 goals, and try and make them bigger.
Thank you for listening to the Education Business Podcast. To get more information to grow your business, sign up at educationbusinessclub.co.uk.